very much. Isn't it wonderful that Danger Mouse is a Manc? There he is, one of my favourites from when I was growing up. And it was fabulous to see the new Danger Mouse win at the Royal Television Society Northwest Awards this weekend. Well, last Saturday. My name's Kat Lewis, and I run my own Manchester-based company, 9 Lives Media, making children's programmes as well as other factual content. And my own career began as a kids' TV presenter up at Tyne Tees when there was a lot of programming being made up there. And I regularly work with lots of different animation companies, and particularly here in the north, I work with Flix and Fettel Animation. So it's a real honour to be here today to give this keynote to Manimation 2016. I'm going to talk about Brexit, plus the other challenges facing our sector, and tell you what's happening to try and help, and also what you can do. But firstly, I'm keen to quickly recap the fantastic story of animation and children's programming from here in Manchester, in case some of you don't know our long history. So it all began when 2 young men called Brian Cosgrove and Mark Hall met here in Manchester as students at Manchester College of Art and Design, now part of Manchester Metropolitan University and one of our sponsors for today. They then worked together as graphic artists at Granada Television before launching Cosgrove Hall in 1975 with the backing of Thames Television. And Cosgrove Hall created many successful children's programmes, including Danger Mouse, Jamie and the Magic Torch, Count Duckula, Wind in the Willows, and it was home to Postman Pat, Rory the Racing Car, Fifi the Flower Tots, among many others. Skills in stop frame animation, 2D and CGI all blossomed, and a large talent pool of excellent programme makers was built here, making fabulous world-class TV. And its legacy has been to create a cluster of wonderful animation and puppetry companies, some set up by people who worked either for or around Cosgrove Hall, and others that are newer companies that are here because of that history and because of that talent pool. There's McKinnon and Saunders, who make Twirly-Woos and Rah Rah the Noisy Lion, as well as all the puppets for Tim Burton's films. Factory, who produce Clangers, Strange Hill High, Rory the Racing Car, Fifi and the Flower Tots. Brown Bag Films, who make Octonauts, Bing and Peter Rabbit, have offices here in Manchester. Studio Liddell, who produce Cloud Babies. Fettel Animation, who make Shakespeare in shorts and Children of the Holocaust, as well as creating animation and title sequences for other programmes. Kilogram, who produce Tall Tales and create animation for Newsround. And Flix, who make the animation for Old Jack's Boat, as well as many other programmes. And there's Cosgrove Hall Fitzpatrick, run by Mark Hall's son Simon, who make Pip Ahoy for Channel 5, among other shows. So this long track record and large talent pool undoubtedly influenced the BBC when they were deciding that they had to make 50% of their programmes out of London. So they decided to move their children's programme department to Salford. And it is a really good thing because children's is where many people do begin their careers, and obviously it was building on that legacy. So when Media City was created by Peel in 2011, it became the new home to CBBC and CBeebies. And it's really wonderful to have CBBC and CBeebies here in the north, and there's more kids' content now being made in the north than ever before. But this is a time of change. Underneath the BBC's new charter, the window of creative competition is going, and BBC's children's commissioning, although it's not part of BBC Children's, is protected. For any of you who've read the white paper that was published about the charter, you'll see that it's been protected. It's not going to be part of BBC Studios, so it's not open to total competition, but it is going to be open to 100% competition in relation to commissioning. And Pact, the trade body for TV and film producers, I've just stood down actually, but I've been on the council for Pact for the past 6 years. They're working with the BBC to ensure transparency so independent producers can compete on a level playing field with in-house producers. So for example, BBC Children's has already started giving independent producers like myself, like you guys in the room, access to audience research. And if you're not getting that at the moment, then do find out why and start signing up for it, because I'm certainly getting regular emails now with lots of interesting audience research and ratings, etc. So, the recently introduced tax breaks for animation and now extended to live-action children's programmes have given our sector a welcome boost, making it easier for UK producers to compete with those in other countries who've benefited from that kind of intervention for a long time. And the government move came about as a direct result of the work of children's producers, particularly Ollie Hyatt, MBE of Blue Zoo, who founded Animation UK to lobby for the tax breaks and was given a lot of backing by Pact as well. And our productions at 9 Lives are certainly benefiting from the tax breaks, and I'm sure many of you in the room are equally in that situation. And I think the tax breaks shows what can be done through lobbying, and that's why, particularly as I'm going to go on and talk about Brexit, it's more important than ever that we work together as a sector to ensure that post-Brexit we get what we need. Save Kids Content UK was launched in September because there's still an awful lot more to be done about children's TV. Gone are the days when I started, when there was a huge amount of television being made for kids. There's still too little investment from British public service broadcasters into animation and puppetry. And this all goes back to the ban on junk food advertising in 2007. As a consequence, BBC Children's has become by far the main commissioner for kids' content. Although Channel 5's Milkshake is still important, they've just posted record profits, can Channel 5 do more and put some of those profits into investment into animation? CITV has started to commission a little more in the last couple of years, but they're still not doing an awful lot. We all know it's extremely hard for children's producers to survive with such a small number of UK-based clients. And as a result, this new campaign, Save Kids Content, was launched on the 13th of September at the House of Commons by the founder of Ragdoll and creator of Teletubbies, Anne Wood. So, you know, that's an organisation that you can get involved with if you're not already. And Save Kids Content UK aims to lobby government to encourage or legislate other public service broadcasters to commission children's programmes. As well as hoping CITV will expand its investment in Channel 5, producers are also lobbying for Channel 4 to go back to being the leading commissioner of British animation that they used to be some years ago. Channel 4 has already committed to producing more content for children as a direct result of pressure from government. But what their strategy is at the moment is to make more shows like Secret Life of 4-Year-Olds, Goggle Sprogs and Child Genius, rather than commissioning programming specifically for children. And their remit, it's not kind of 100% legislation or regulation, but their remit is to make programmes for 10-year-olds plus. And so, that's what they're really supposed to do. The government's considering Channel 4's future over the next 6 months. You'll have heard that they're considering whether to privatise Channel 4. We all hope, well, certainly many of us hope, and Pact hope, they don't privatise Channel 4, because at the moment Channel 4 is the biggest commissioner of independent producers, and if they were to do so and create an in-house production base, which they undoubtedly would, it would have a devastating impact on our industry. So if you're not involved already in kind of, helping ensure Channel 4 isn't privatised, then please do consider that. You may have also heard the suggestion that the broadcaster should move to Birmingham, and this was initially made in a rather cheeky article by Peter Salmon, the former head of BBC North, in Broadcast, but it seems to have been taken quite seriously post-Brexit by the government, and there is certainly some pressure from the new Culture Secretary, Karen Brady, to make this a serious suggestion. I personally think for Channel 4 to move to one city outside London wouldn't necessarily be of huge benefit, because for example, I've been to London twice this week already, and if I also had to go to Birmingham to see kind of clients, it would be quite tricky, and I know a lot of other people in the room are in a similar situation. However, I do think what would be good is for Channel 4 to have a number of commissioners based outside London in the nations and regions. The BBC's done this. Occasionally they've become gatekeepers rather than empowered commissioners. But when it does work, it's brilliant, in terms of Joe Street, for example, who's doing a fantastic job up in Glasgow, commissioning entertainment and daytime shows, and everybody loves working for her, and I know she's got a lot of business away for friends of mine who have independents based in Glasgow. Whatever you think about Channel 4, now is a really good time to voice those thoughts, because it's seriously being considered over the next 6 months, and it's a very important situation from our point of view for our sector. The British Film Institute is another important investor in animation. It's put in around £3 million into animated films for adults and children over the last recent years, but Save Kids Content UK is lobbying for the BFI to do more. And as part of the BBC's charter, there's a contestable fund of £20 million a year for the next 3 years. It's not just for children's programming, but children's programming is a named recipient of that fund. This has been created by money left over after the digital switchover. Some of the money will definitely be allocated to kids' TV, so how's that going to be done? There is concern that a substantial percentage of it could be lost in administrative costs. And so what Pact is suggesting is that the BBC should manage the fund so that it can go straight into creative content, as opposed to a totally new structure being set up and costing a lot of money in order to administer this money, which will only last, I believe, for 3 years. Do make your views known on this. It's generally thought that it should be put into the development of projects which already have broadcaster support. So what does Brexit mean? This week, Brexit means Brexit has a really hollow ring about it, doesn't it? It's been getting kind of to be a phrase that's frustrating an awful lot of people. And the biggest current concern for many working in animation is how their businesses are going to be impacted by the exit from the EU. I know many producers, like those in many other creative businesses and artists and institutions, are deeply concerned about the loss of investment currently provided by the European Media Fund. Some British creatives are already finding that it's harder to win money from this fund, and obviously we all suspect it's because we're going to be leaving Europe at some point, so are we already being barred from successful applications to this fund? And it's a deep concern because it's been such an important source, and at the moment we're still paying into the European Media Fund, so surely British applicants should be considered as seriously as anybody else. It's very hard to raise the finances for productions, particularly animation, as we all know, when a commission can sometimes only result in 20% of the overall budget. So it is devastating to lose access to this particular fund. Pact has been working with the Creative Industries Federation and other bodies to try and make all our concerns known to the government, so that money can be made available, certainly when we do end up exiting the EU, money can be made available from central government, the money that's saved, the money that used to go to pay for the EU for our membership. And it's incredibly important for us to lobby on this, because you can imagine every other sector is lobbying hard. And the thing about the creative industries is we're the fastest growing sector at the moment. We create 1 job in 11 in terms of gross value added. We're up to an 87.4 billion GVA. So we're really in a strong position to say to government, you know, it's incredibly important that you listen to our sector and the needs of our sector. And the Creative Industries Federation is an industry-led organisation that you can become a member of. They've just done this fantastic report on Brexit, which sets out short-term, medium-term and long-term goals. I've just joined their national advisory panel, as has Dave, who runs Home, and there are organisations across different industries represented, and we're trying to kind of lobby hard post-Brexit to make sure that our creative industries sector gets the attention we need. And that lobbying is obviously also being done by Pact, and certainly in terms of the launch of this report, that was done alongside Pact. So the government still needs to proactively engage with the EU, not just on issues like the one that I mentioned, the European Media Fund, but also on the single digital market. I don't know how many of you know about this, but it is a really big current issue, which could long term result in a serious loss of revenue to all UK audiovisual producers. At the moment, because we've been at the table, we've been able to convince them to make audiovisual an exception to the single digital market. It's basically going to come in next spring in April. And what it means is that instead of Europe being the 28 territories it now is, and as certainly producers of the English language will often sell to a number of those different territories, so our products are going to a number of different territories, they want it to be seen as one territory, which means from our point of view, we'd only get one sale as opposed to many sales. It doesn't affect producers in French language programs or German language programs as much, because obviously there isn't as much demand. It really does affect us, and so if you get an opportunity, to say anything, perhaps even to your local MP about, the single digital market, it's something that, people don't necessarily know about, but it could have a devastating impact on our sector, so it's important that we do stand up to it. This report has shown that for example, one of the recommendations is that in this report is that for time-limited activities, such as kind of going on a concert tour or making a TV production, making a film, that there is continued ease of movement. We really don't want to have to go back to the days where we have to get a carnet to nip over and do some filming in Amsterdam, but that could well be the case unless we lobby, because other people, people in government just won't know about it. So we've really got to make our voice heard. And also, many of us want to carry on being part of the, the European Capital of Culture programme, etc. Our sector isn't as badly affected as some others within the creative industries. I mean, some artists really depend on that European Media Fund, and it is devastating, the whole Brexit situation. So Pact is also calling for the continuation of funding to support animation and children's production, in addition to more focused and targeted export support. Because obviously if we've now got to rely on kind of, building new relationships in Europe as well as internationally, it is incredibly important that the government supports us in export instead of withdrawing funding, which is what they've been doing in recent years. So this report's just the beginning, and working together through organisations like Pact, like the Creative Industries Federation, like Save Kids Content, it's more important now than ever before. So if you haven't been involved before, please do consider it. And coming together for events like today is also really important. This is the 4th year Manimation has taken place, and Manimation 2016, as has already been mentioned, has a number of crucial sponsors. And it's organised by CMC, the Children's Media Conference, which also runs the Children's Conference each year in July. And we're very lucky to have been invited here to the wonderful offices of Autotrader. It's certainly the first time I've been here. Autotrader is one of the UK's most successful digital businesses. Around 80% of all sales of cars from forecourts now happens kind of via that website, and digital ad revenues are really strong, 65% of used car sales. So they're doing incredibly well. So thank you very much, Autotrader, for inviting us in. And having sat next to Tony Collingwood in many Pact Council meetings, do make sure that Autotrader don't throw away any bits of paper that are left around, because I know certainly Tony used to doodle the most fantastic doodles. It was fantastic sitting next to an animator at a conference, I tell you, or a council meeting. And finally, I just wanted to use this opportunity to say a big thank you to Mike Watts, CEO of Novel Entertainment, because he stood down after chairing Pact's Children and Animation Working Group for the last 10 years. And his vice chair, Tony Collingwood, is taking over, so best of luck to him. I've also, as I mentioned, stood down from Pact Council, but I am going to join that Pact's Children and Animation Working Group, so I can certainly feed through any comments that anybody has at any time to that, or to the Creative Industries Federation. And if anybody wants copies of this report, I'm really happy to email them, so do get in touch. Thank you.